Well, good Sunday morning, everybody. The same words taking on a different meaning, and it starts with one message years apart on one city street. Could a mural that reads "Defund the Wall" end up defunding our streets? Well, it started when Mayor Trevino acknowledged the governor's perspective following a new directive from Governor Abbott, ordering TxDOT to remove all markings conveying political ideologies from Texas streets. One after another, Laredoans took to public comments during last Monday's City Council meeting to voice their concerns. At stake, the potential loss of more than $1.5 billion in TxDOT funds for Laredo. Public comments also took time to address new maps from the Department of Homeland Security showing plans for walls and water buoys along Laredo's portion of the Rio Grande. Laredoans shared what the mural meant to them and what they hope council will consider moving forward.
And I'm here to challenge our mayor's comments on painting over our Victoria Street mural. Public art is all over the city, and it's a huge part of what makes Laredo beautiful. Dictating what that art should include not only discourages diversity and creativity, but takes away the artist's autonomy over their own work.
And on the mural, this was approved, and this was privately funded, and it did what it had to do with nearly 300,000 viral hits.
And the issue won't be going away anytime soon. A special meeting to discuss the directive will take place at noon tomorrow on Monday. Joining us this morning are KGNS political contributors Pete Saenz and Tanya Benavides. They are joined by KGNS General Manager Luis Villarreal. Good morning, everybody. Appreciate having you with us.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mindy.
And thank you so much for joining us. We really wanted to have both of you all with us, so we appreciate you taking the time because, Mayor, the Defund the Wall actually was approved unanimously under your administration. So we wanted to talk to you about that. And Tanya, you were there at the Monday City Council meeting, so you had a firsthand view. I think we saw you on the video just a little bit. So we wanted to speak to both of you all about your perspectives on this. And Mayor, let's get started with you because it happened under your administration. It was back in 2020, right when everything was going on with COVID. What was the background behind that? Where did that come from?
Well, the politics were different. You know, obviously, it changes it tends to change every 4 years or so. And I think there's a lot of to that, frankly. Now we have a new administration with different thinking, I guess ideology, you want to call it that. And things do change. It appears more and more, even in the Biden administration, we saw that if you're not with them, you're basically against them. And if you're against them, there's a tendency to jeopardize your funds, and that's exactly what's happening now. Before, it was more implicit. It was implied,
now it's pretty overt.
Now it's overt. It's blatant, overt, and I saw it in the Biden administration. I see it now in the Trump administration, and obviously the Abbott. There's no hesitation to say, look, if you're not with the program, don't depend on these funds or whatever funds. And TxDOT is a huge contributor. Without TxDOT monies, we really can't do these major projects. So do we draw the line now and upset, the party in power? Is this the battle that we're willing to, to fight? Is this the hill we're wanting to die on, so to speak? And that's a question for the elected officials, the mayor and city council, and I guess others as well. So is it worth the fight, this one issue?
Right.
That's really the question.
And that's what they say, pick your battles. So is this the battle we want to pick with the Abbott administration and losing the potential $1.6 billion that they have provided for us just this year alone? Tanya, you were there at the meeting. What were you there? Or were you there to talk about,
Yeah, I think when the news came out that Governor Abbott issued this directive to TxDOT and TxDOT immediately moved to notify localities, obviously Laredo, despite the statewide conversation really being honed in on the rainbow crosswalks in San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, other places, we knew that this was also a target onto our mural, right? That was privately funded, right? Privately completed, and as the mayor and the city council approved it at the time, very different from other murals that were subsequent to that mural, right? Might I add? That I think, for us, it was jarring to hear that because of our beliefs and voicing our concerns, our First Amendment rights, that our city would stand to lose so much and be jeopardized of upwards of $1.6 billion. I think that it's very dangerous to establish the precedent that the state or the federal government can dictate what the First Amendment rights of an entire community are. And as much as I understand what's at stake, more than anybody, haven't run for office before, and not having a street in front of my house right now. It's been since March that I've been experiencing this construction. So I know how slow moving the process is as somebody that's put my hat in the ring, that's experiencing it as a resident, and that understands the immense amount of money that's at stake. But equally so, I think it's important to not say we're going to cede on this and then what else is going to come next. Where does it stop? Is it wall murals? Is it advertisements? I mean, you're talking about things that only happen in countries where there are no democracies. And for me, that was a resounding message that so many of us shared, and the warning that I myself issued, right? That these are authoritarian tactics that have never been seen before from our state government, which clearly is feeling some cushion from the federal government, to the mayor's point.
So, this is such a complicated issue because, when you talk about First Amendment, it goes both ways. I also have a First Amendment, and I also have, when you are talking about infringing on somebody else's beliefs or what have you, it gets very complicated. I am 100% in agreement with you that this is a dangerous precedent, that it could be set, that we shouldn't, the government shouldn't dictate the direction of where we go with our, how we express ourselves, 100%. But I think the weapon has been weaponized as not a result of this, or is just now. I think as Mayor, you alluded, there were plenty of instances like this, maybe not as drastic, under different administrations. And I think it goes to the problem of all government, and regardless of party, and Tanya, you and I have had this conversation, it has stopped being the people against the government and has become the people against a party or the other. And we have given a blank check to whomever's in power, depending on whether we agree with their politics or not, as opposed to keeping them in check as government and not necessarily as party. Elected officials have stayed, get elected and spend the next 2 or 4 years worrying about just getting reelected, not about governing or doing the right thing, and because they're serving a different agenda, which is not the people, is the party. And I think that's the biggest problem here, is that we can agree or disagree on the issue, but at the end of the day, the problem is that the government has been weaponized against the people in many ways, and regardless of who's in power. And so, yeah, I share your concern. But I also don't want taxpayer money, which in this case was not used, but it's my street too.
Of course.
Right? And so I'd rather it not have anything on it.
And that's maybe the position.
I don't want you to ram your political ideology down my throat either.
Yeah.
Somebody has to protect my right for that.
It's funny, though, because the mayor probably knows better than any of us, right, that this was a big topic of conversation in the months following the Defund the Wall, Fund Our Future mural. And then there was a whole other process that city management came up with, right, that said, okay, well, basically all you need to put something on the streets is a permit from the city. Because you're right, it is not up to us, local government, to dictate what ideology is right or wrong.
Correct.
And I understand that the wall is a very sensitive issue, but I would beg to defer that it is along party lines. I think overwhelmingly Laredo has been against the wall.
I agree. I don't think the wall is necessary. Yeah, I agree with
you.
you.
Like I mentioned, the main focus has been the rainbow crosswalks across the city, across the state. I think that also speaks a little bit to the point that you just mentioned of we politicians are so concerned with keeping their party happy, right?
And
so
by,
that
and
keep
they have to
getting
do that by
reelected.
appeasing those fringe elements of the party. And so
On either
you
side.
have to go to the extremes because that's what gets you the win in the primary. That's what you need. And so all these things are so drastic where there's a lot more common ground in the middle.
You know, we've been getting calls in the newsroom from the Motor Carriers Association, you know, telling us that they want our city government to please, you know, do not jeopardize the funding for the streets and the roadways. Mayor, how serious do you think Governor Abbott is in pulling the funding if cities don't comply? Do you think we could seriously lose that money, and how scary would that be for Laredo?
No, it is. It's scary because we you know, that's a tendency now, you know, to threaten, to jeopardize funding.
I mean, we're seeing it with the government shutdown right now. You know, I mean, you've got lots of
I
people
would take
without
that
getting.
threat very seriously.
Yeah.
And it may be a tough decision but again, do we draw the line on this one issue? You know, maybe the position should be let's be neutral. You know, can you imagine one group wants to express their First Amendment rights? Say we have 10 groups out there and they all want to put their, you know, do we have enough space in the streets? Do we accommodate, even though it's private funding? You know, at some point, you know, let's, you know, as to these issues, you know, remain neutral and move on.
You know, you imagine a anti-abortion message on a street somewhere.
Sure.
You know, I'm sure it would be supported by some and opposed by others, but that's where we're here. We shouldn't have to make that decision, not on a public street. We should not be put in that position.
And political parties should learn from that
if
too.
If instead of defund the wall, it would say defund abortion, or, you know.
Sure, no, it
I
would-
mean,
controversy.
the position shouldn't be different. That's what I'm saying. Our position should be the same. We don't need public property.
I think, see, but that's a dangerous line, Luis, because especially one of the other things that happened on Monday is council was taking up an upwards of $1 million public art fund from the general fund. I mean, I go back to, and I think we're asking the same thing from different perspectives. Where do we draw the line?
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
And I understand what's at stake. It's again, it's very manipulative what's at stake, right? Obviously,
They're
the city
weaponizing the
we're not-
government.
we're not going to turn around and say, no, TxDOT, we don't want $1.6 billion
Agreed.
this year or
It's an
over
unfair
10
situation to be
over 10
put on.
years. Yeah.
But let me speak for elected public officials. It's very difficult because there's millions of monies on the line. When I was mayor, you know, I was compressed from both sides. We had the progressives and we had the conservatives, and yet I was under the Trump administration. They were saying, Mayor, you know, we need your cooperation here, or else, you know, there's a strong probability that monies may not flow this way.
Right.
So, do we jeopardize health, you know, public utilities, water?
It's a tough job.
It is, but yet
Yeah.
we, you know, as
Yeah.
public elected officials, we got to do where the
Yeah.
money comes from.
Absolutely, because that's progression. Thank you so much. We appreciate y'all's insight. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, under new management, TAMIU welcomes its 7th president in school history. We get to know the new president and how he spent his first month on the job. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. Well, sometimes the start of a new era can be defined by something that's closer than it seems. And for TAMIU's new president, there are no boundaries, no barriers. After all, it's in the name. Well, what began as Texas A&I University became Laredo State University and evolved into what we know today as Texas A&M International University, or TAMIU. 55 years later, a celebration marks the milestone and a new tenure begins. Dr. Christopher Maynard now leads as the 7th president in school history. He arrives just in time as the university celebrates record milestones, including a historic fall enrollment surpassing 9,000 students. Named Named a finalist in late August, Dr. Maynard has now been on the job for less than a month. His journey, though, includes roles at the University of Houston, Clear Lake, Sam Houston State University, and the University of North Alabama. But now we get to hear from Dr. Christopher Maynard himself, who joins us this morning for the next part of our conversation. Good morning, Dr. Maynard. Welcome to Laredo.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here today.
Absolutely. You've been on the job for about a month already?
Yes, I started October 1st, so just under a month.
Okay, great. So what's the feeling? Do you love us?
Oh, I love it. The first day I stepped on the campus is just the excitement that you can see from our students. Our student population is strong as you can find anywhere. So it has just been a great few weeks getting to know the city of Laredo, getting to know TAMIU, and it already feels like home.
Were you familiar with our community, or was this your first time visiting when you started coming here?
So during the search process, I did visit for the very first time, and I can tell you when my wife and I came to Laredo for that first moment, we stepped on campus for the first time, and it is just a beautiful campus. We could tell right away that it was going to be home. And then as we traveled around Laredo, we became more and more excited with all of the growth and vitality of this region. I think that's something that if you live in Laredo, you might not see it, but as an outsider who comes in, the first thing that we noticed was all of the construction, all of the growth, which again can be a headache for people when they're living here. But what it shows is this is a community on the move. This is a growing area. Yeah. Our university is growing as well. We have construction on campus. We have 2 new beautiful buildings that will be online in the spring. And so that type of growth, that type of excitement shows me and certainly showed my wife as well that this is a place we could call home, a place that we could be successful and continue to move the university forward.
Awesome.
Now you're coming on as the university is meeting some milestones, 9,000 students for enrollment, 55 years as a campus in Laredo. So where do you go from here? What are your potential milestones for the university?
Well, one thing that I've already learned about TAMIU and TAMIU students is our students are ambitious. And so our university has to meet that ambition. And so we're going to continue to grow. Certainly continue to grow enrollment. We've passed 9,000 students. We're well on the way to 10,000 students. And it's not the number. The number is not what is the most important. What is important is the opportunities that we're creating for students. As Laredo grows, as South Texas grows, TAMIU is committed to providing more and more educational opportunities for our students because we know those educational opportunities are significant. They transform the lives not only of our students, but their families and the entire region. So it is important for TAMIU to step up and meet that need, continue to grow, continue to provide more educational opportunities because we know the impact it will have on this region. And so we're committed to continuing to grow.
Yeah. Well, no,
ahead. No,
I was
go.
just going to say, I'm totally hogging. I was just going to say, with opportunities, are you talking about more undergraduate programs, graduate programs, postgraduate? What are your thoughts as far as opportunities?
All of the above. The main thing is we want to make sure we're meeting the needs of the region. And we have a great team at TAMIU. I've charged our provost with continuing to start looking at the data, looking at employer demand, student demand in this region, making sure we're meeting the needs of the region. And that would mean new undergraduate programs, new graduate programs, new doctoral programs. You know, the economy is changing, the world is changing, our academic portfolio has to continue to change and adapt, and we will continue to look for any opportunity to bring in new degree programs that will make an impact on the region, will allow our students to have more opportunities, and we'll do that and continue to add programs.
What have you found to be the most pressing issues or challenges? I don't know if you've had enough time yet, but I mean, what are the roadblocks? What are the challenges?
And you're right, I am still in the learning phase. I've been on the job 3 weeks, and so I told our team, we're going to take the first month, to really meet as many people as I can in the community, listen to their stories, meet as many students on campus. Again, listen to what the needs are and respond and make sure that every day we're coming to work, that we're meeting those needs for our students. And I would say the biggest challenge has been and will continue to be making sure students have the resources to be able to have that university education. And that will continue to be a focus at TAMIU, making sure that we are have an affordable university experience, that our students have the ability to be able to come to the university to achieve that degree and take away as many of those roadblocks as we possibly can for our students to make sure they're successful. Because at the end of the day, the focus of TAMIU, my focus, has been and will always be student success. That's always going to be our main focus. And we'll continue to look for ways to make sure there's more opportunities for our students and they're able to take advantage of those opportunities.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about yourself. You're a published author. You wrote a book about President George Bush, the dad.
Yeah.
Tell us about, in the Cold War, tell us about being a published author and, what perspective that brought to you.
Sure, and I'll start by just saying, I started my career as a teacher. My parents were both teachers, both of my grandmothers were teachers. At the end of the day, I'm a history teacher. That's how I started, and that's what I continue to be. And certainly research and writing is an extension of that. I think as you're learning, as you're researching, you begin to pick up new perspectives, and that's what we want for our students as well. So I'll say many of my publications focus on presidential history, both George H.W. Bush, Ronald Reagan, Jimmy Carter. And anytime you study a leader, you really start to understand all the different things that go into making decisions. And so I think that has helped me throughout my career to understand how that an individual can process information, learn information, adapt, overcome, succeed. And that's what we're trying to do with all of our students, to instill that type of skill set for our students, that no matter what comes, you're able to adapt, whether you're dealing with the end of the Cold War or you're dealing with the next issue that's going to face our country. It's do our students have the skill sets necessary, the experience, the support to be able to make those decisions to move us forward. And that's things that I've learned, again, throughout history that teaches us how can you continue to move forward. And that's what we're focused on.
Well, I want to brag a little bit about Luis's son because he ran collegiate cross country for TAMIU.
Fantastic.
And I have a son who runs collegiate cross country for another university too. So we're both parents of collegiate athletes. So where do you see your athletic program going in the future?
Well, it is an exciting time in TAMIU's athletics because we've just launched a search for a new athletic director. Our long-serving athletic director is retiring at the end of this month.
Oh, I did not know that.
And so we just launched a search last week, and we are committed to finding the very best possible athletic director to come to TAMIU. And we do think that there's lots of opportunity to continue to expand our athletic offerings. We just opened a new tennis center with the city of Laredo. And the goal is to continue to provide those opportunities to do several things. One is to get the community to come on our campus for great sporting events. I've been to several of our various sporting events, and it's a fantastic experience. But also to provide those opportunities for student athletes as we continue to look to expand our athletic programs, as we continue to look to expand our facilities. The goal is always to provide more opportunities for students. And so there are students that if they didn't come on an athletic scholarship, they wouldn't be able to have that educational experience at all. And at the end of the day, our athletes are student athletes. We want to provide more opportunities for students to come to our campus. And that also helps us continue to grow our footprint as a university as well throughout South Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. We see the smaller universities across the state just getting more and more popular because they're starting up new programs. So we're starting to see universities that we've never heard of having a, athletic program as good as what they are now, and it's all because they grew through the years. So,
and it does expand our footprint in terms of as our teams go out and compete with other schools throughout Texas. We're the Lone Star Conference, which is an excellent, very competitive conference. But as we travel around the state, as we continue to grow and expand that, there's people that are in other parts of the state that may have never heard of TAMIU or don't have that same level of familiarity.
Correct.
And our athletes really are ambassadors. As they're going out to other parts of the state, as our athletic presence grows, then that visibility grows, and that helps us bring in more students, provides new opportunities, and it becomes a cycle where we just continue to grow and get more and more name recognition. And we're committed to doing that.
Well, welcome.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Glad to have you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we look forward to, continuing our partnership with TAMIU. So thank you so much for
Thank you
coming
so
to
much.
Laredo.
Appreciate it.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, it's the one thing that our panelists cannot stop thinking about, and we're including in that conversation Dr. Maynard. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. Well, it's the one thing our panelists cannot stop thinking about, and we're going to start off with our new TAMIU president, Dr. Maynard. Doc.
Well, I'm excited about all the community events we have. One of the things that I love about our campus is all the opportunities we have for Laredo to come to our campus. And so today, this afternoon at 3 o'clock, we have the Laredo Philharmonic will be performing movie theme hits, and so that'll be a great event. And then this Thursday, October 30th, we'll have our Halloween Fest on campus. And so it's a great event to bring the family out to campus. And then next month, we have the Christmas tree lighting. So I just invite all of Laredo to come to our campus, bring your family, and enjoy our beautiful campus.
Wow, that's awesome. That Show Tunes Philharmonic is going to be fantastic.
When they told me you were coming, I couldn't stop thinking. I haven't been able to stop thinking about maybe in the future we can have a football team in Laredo. I don't know.
Dust Devils.
Yes.
The TAMIU Dust Devils. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a dream, but I haven't
Yeah.
been able to stop thinking about it since we knew you were coming in here.
Well, you know, I mean, UTRGV, they just started their football program.
So, I mean,
UTSA's
it's
has been
not-
growing through the years. Texas State has gotten really good lately, so never say never.
You never say never.
Never say
So,
never. That's right. Well, I am going to do a shameless plug for my part 2 On Your Side report. It is airing tonight. It's on Laredo City Council District Priority Fund. So this budget cycle, if y'all didn't catch my first Part 1 series, every city council member received $500,000 in certificate of obligation bonds. They have to be backed by or paid back by taxpayers. So I've been looking into how they each plan on spending this money. So last week I focused on District 1, 4, and 5, and 6. Tonight, though, in the hot seat are council members District 3, 8, and 2, and even the mayor, who also gets district priority funds. So watch Part 2. It is running tonight on KGNS News, the late edition. So with that, I think we have come to the end of this episode of Beyond the Headlines. Thank you so much, Dr. Maynard. Appreciate having you with us. And as always, we appreciate the time you've spent with us. Make sure to tune in next Sunday for another issue of Beyond the Headlines. Until then, have a great week.